Harry Potter was a highly unusual boy in many ways. For one thing, he hated the summer holidays more than any other time of year. For another, he really wanted to do his homework, but was forced to do it in secret in the dead of night. And he also happened to be a wizard. This book is a little over 300 pages long, and for some reason I thought it was more as a kid. I also thought the book was thicker, like somewhere in between the size of the Chamber of Secrets and the Goblet of Fire. Anyway, let's get into the video. Please leave a comment and don't forget to like and subscribe. My scores will be at the end of the video, and if you want to view my other videos on the Harry Potter series, look to your top right or check out the description. But for now, I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good. Part 1. Things I missed. It's touching that Harry finally got presents on his birthday. Got to rate Hermione. She got the best one. Then again, women usually do get the best presents. There's been a set formula for the start of all the 3 books so far, but I like how J.K. Rowling does a summary of the important stuff during the beginning of each book. We of course see this played out through Harry's thoughts. It's strange for me because I'm an adult, but then I realise this is for kids, so it makes sense. They do probably need a little refresher. Or not, because it's Harry Potter. Anyway, it's weird seeing Harry have so much freedom at the start of the book. I love that he finally gets to explore the wizarding world by himself. 3 books in and we finally get to see it. He's just like any other wizard as he strolls through Diagon Alley and goes about life. He runs errands, he does work inside wizarding coffee shops. Something so simple for a guy like Harry was beautiful to read about. Harry of course isn't fully mature yet, he's a kid. He's what, 13 I think? He showed that typical immaturity when he ran away from the Dursleys. But he did well when he was on his own in Diagon Alley to keep his head down and not spend all of his money. I love that the Irish Quidditch team was mentioned when Harry was looking at the firebolt in the shop. And I also like that we weren't bogged down with Harry being famous in this part. I just thought about it right now, this isn't actually in the script, but Harry's the most recognizable and most famous wizard in the world by far. Remember in The Philosopher's Stone how when he went into the pub with Hagrid, he had everyone wanting to shake his hand and like talk to him, even Professor Quill was there. And then this time around, I like that, he can just go about his life. It's kind of strange. It's cool. Really and truly, if it was realistic, he'd still be getting hounded. But I like that that's not mentioned, that's not in this part of the book. Seeing Harry just do normal things and it's absolutely brilliant. Again, J.K. Rowling is expanding the world and dropping seeds about things to come here and there, especially in referring to the Firebolt and the Quidditch team. I also realised that for the first 3 books, a brand new shiny broomstick gets released and the hype is present and unreal, and it's the fastest since, I don't know, the speed of light. I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of like with broomsticks, it's like the iPhone for the wizarding world, back when there were significant upgrades with each iPhone year after year. At least with the broomsticks, we see that the Firebolt is a lot faster than the Nimbus 2001, and the Nimbus 2001 is a lot faster than the Nimbus 2000, and the Nimbus 2000 is a lot faster than like the Comet. So, JK done it right. When it comes to the scenes we get before Hogwarts, I think this book does it best in the series thus far. For example, the Flourish and Blot scene when they were selling that biting book for Hagrid's class, quote, "I thought we'd seen the worst when we bought 200 copies of the Invisible Book of Invisibility. Cost a fortune, and we never found them. Well, is there anything else I can help you with?" I just love that. The Invisible Book of Invisibility, and we never found them. Just classic. Sounds like magic to me personally. Or a nicely executed wizarded scam. So yeah, they might want to get that checked out. Again, these little touches about how the magical world works is beautiful, and it builds on the expansion of the wizarding world we saw, and that was already expanded in the Chamber of Secrets. Also, when it comes to the expansion of the wizarding world, I might need to mention the plot here, because a killer's on the loose and everyone's worried. Harry finds out more about Sirius Black when he eavesdrops on Mr. and Mrs. Weasley's conversation. To be honest, I'm so in love with this series that I can easily listen to wizards and witches talk about magical news, whether good or bad. On to Hermione. This is going to be very random, especially for this part of the video. but I have to mention it. I seriously think she's underpowered throughout the series. I remember when I first finished the Harry Potter series as an adult in 2020, so during the pandemic, and I was left unsatisfied about Hermione's cleverness. Dumbledore had done great things as a student and so had the Marauders. I think Hermione should have been made a genius level witch, because accomplishments seem kind of mid next to the Marauders. Think about the level of magic it takes to make the Marauders mad and illegally become animagi. Even Hermione said that there'd only been 7 registered animagi that century, with McGonagall being one of them. So when Lupin says she's the cleverest witch he's come across, I low-key don't believe it. I think Hermione should have invented the time turner. I think a crazy accomplishment like that would have put her on the same level as the young Marauders and even Dumbledore. I think she should have illegally created it too. It would have served as a nice parallel to the Marauders being illegal animagi. Anyway, this reread stressed to me, yet again, the importance of rereads, and I think I'll probably say this for every reread video I'm probably ever going to do. In my own life, as I learn more about class, poverty, and trying to avoid it myself, I recognize it easily in fictional characters. For example, Lupin's appearance throughout the books stuck out like a sore thumb. Harry noted internally that he looked like he had a few square meals when he saw him during the first Defense Against the Dark Arts class, and it made me realize Lupin is poor, and it took me so long to get to this point. I'm low-key ashamed because I pretty much come from the same background. Lupin even mentions in the book how grateful he is to Dumbledore. He admitted Lupin as a kid into Hogwarts when other headmasters wouldn't have done so. Plus he got Lupin a job even when staff were questioning his appointment. All because people don't hire werewolves and there's a prejudice against them. It's sad to think that this is happening in the wizarding world, and it's a nice parallel to how things are in real life. People that are different seem to get the worst end of it. What is so heartbreaking is that James and Lily, I think, would have helped Lupin if they were alive. The Potter family would have helped Lupin, for sure. We learn in later books, The Order of the Phoenix I believe, that Sirius ran away from his family as a teenager, and he went on to stay with the Potters because he was always welcome there. I realised that Lupin has needed care support since he was bitten, and he got that at Hogwarts with Sirius, James and Peter, with the aid of Dumbledore of course. But in his adult life he's pretty much been alone, I think, especially because James was killed, Peter was assumed to be killed, and Sirius was in Azkaban. His whole support system fell apart. Damn. Speaking of Sirius, the announcement of his infiltration of Hogwarts was done so well. Quote, "Oh yes, Professor Head," said Peeves, with the air of one cradling a large bombshell in his arms. He got very angry when she wouldn't let him in, you see. Peeves flipped over and grinned at Dumbledore from between his own legs. Nasty temper he's got, that Sirius Black. I love that it was Peeves who delivered the punchline in the books. It was so well written and it ended that chapter perfectly. I realised while reading the book how much Oliver Wood has added to the first 3 books in the series. Got to give a shout out to Oliver Wood, who has been a constant fixture in the first 3 books. I really love his unhinged yet hyper-focused, motivational speaking self. He has guided us as the reader and Harry through Quidditch rules, match triumphs and losses, and endless training sessions. The Prisoner of Azkaban is his last year and I really want him to win. In the end, he did, but I was disappointed that Wood didn't get a mention at the end of the book when Gryffindor had won. That would have been a nice touch. Part 2, It's a Magical World. Let me start off with a foul muggle thing. Aunt Marge. Tormenting someone over a dead parent is foul. Quote, "It is one of the basic rules of breeding," she said. "You see it all the time with dogs. If there's something wrong with the bitch, there'll be something wrong with the pup." I can't lie, I felt for Harry because he was so close to the finish line when he had to use magic against her. It was the last day of her week-long visit, and he had struck a deal with Mr. Dursley. To be honest, this scene in the films is one of the best scenes in the series. It's so beautifully done and it's so comical. So Harry runs away from the Dursleys after he blows his aunt up, good for him. You can tell he's entering his teenage rebellious phase. And for the second book in a row, Harry is contemplating using an unorthodox method of getting out of his transport situation. He thinks that he can make his trunk lighter, tie it to his broomstick, and fly to London with his invisibility cloak over him. It's creative, I can't lie. What's also funny is the callback to the second book when Professor McGonagall told Harry and Ron that they could have sent a message with Hedwig instead of flying to Hogwarts. Fast forward one book, and it seems as though Harry has learned his lesson, and at least he thought about using an owl. But as we know, he sent Hedwig off a few pages earlier when he realised Aunt Marge would be visiting. Throughout this book, at the start of the book, I like the constant references to Azkaban guards. J.K. Rowling pulled a number on us with this, coming like they weren't Dementors. I like the description of the Dementors when they are attacking, for lack of a better word. However, because of the brilliance of the films, I didn't feel like the book's description was elite the first time around. But, later on in the book when Lupin describes them in detail after Harry is attacked by them a second time, well, quote, "Dementors are among the foulest creatures that walk this earth. They infest the darkest, filthiest places. They glory in decay and despair. They drain peace, hope and happiness out of the air around them. Get too near a Dementor and every good feeling, every happy memory will be sucked out of you. If it can, the Dementor will feed on you long enough to reduce it to something like itself, soulless and evil." What is so touching in this scene is that Harry explains to Lupin that the screaming he hears is his mother dying. Harry at this point doesn't know about Lupin and the Marauders, so Lupin's urge to comfort him isn't registered as strange to anyone, but by the end of the book it all makes sense. When Lupin describes the boggart, I was reminded of the Weeping Angels in Doctor Who. If you haven't watched the first Weeping Angels episode in Doctor Who, it is a classic. Anyway, quick rundown. Weeping Angels are aliens as old as the universe, and they're known as the Lonely Assassins. It's in their DNA to freeze and turn into stone when any living creature looks at it. So that's why they cover their eyes. And in Doctor Who, the Weeping Angels are portrayed as statues that we've probably all seen around and isn't creepy at all. I love the deeper description we get in the boggarts. Lupin shares experiences that are relevant, and as the reader you can tell that they're honest. We've gone from the fake influencer Lockhart to an actual legitimate wizard in Lupin, and it's great. Lupin states that no one knows the actual form of a boggart because it changes to its environment. I know it's not like the Weeping Angels, like for like, but that's just where my mind went. Lupin is such a G that he's the third person to address Voldemort by his name. Harry was surprised when Lupin did that. It's strange that up to that point in the series, only him and Dumbledore did that, but I can understand why Lupin is so casual about it. He's actually about that life. He's actually about that thug life. I love that Harry has no clue about the inner lives of the adults he has encountered thus far. Lupin, Molly, Arthur, Dumbledore, McGonagall, even Snape were all in the Order of the Phoenix. Lupin is a warrior of sorts. When I read about the first Defense Against the Dark Arts class that Lupin hosted, it made me want to be in that class. It was that good. Not only is it brilliantly written, but Lupin as a character, a wizard, and a teacher is great. J.K. Rowling wrote him fantastically, because he has a warmness that radiates through the words on the page. From the little things like showing the class a cool spell when he has to deal with Peeves, to backing Neville after Snape continued bullying him, even to how he responded to Hermione knowing the answer to the question. There's an encouragement there that is needed for students. It's great. Contrast that to when Snape had to take over the class and, well, it's Snape. We know what to expect. Part 3. Hold on, there's more. Bro, Professor Trelawney? She is truly unhinged. Truly unhinged, I swear. Again, I like that we expand this magical world more and more. I love the reaction from the trio when Trelawney is talking about the sights and how being book smart won't help in her class. Quote, "At these words, both Harry and Ron glanced, grinning at Hermione, who looked startled at the news that books wouldn't be so much help in this subject." Then Trelawney goes on informing people about future events. I love that she tells Neville to pick up a different colour cup because he's gonna break the first one. That was hilarious. Even though everyone can predict Neville's clumsiness at this point. Regardless, Trelawney is a mystical menace. She's a welcome addition, and her class introduced a different pace to the other magical classes we've seen so far. Moving on, we start to get bickering between Ron and Hermione, like proper bickering. And it's not like other books when they were friends and not kind of friends, and Hermione was still trying to get in with the boys. They're friends now, and so now it's like full scale bickering. Hermione just had to go and get that cat at the start of the book. Quote, Professor McGonagall opened the classroom door at that moment, which was perhaps lucky. Hermione and Ron were looking daggers at each other, but when they got into class they seated themselves either side of Harry and didn't talk to each other all lesson. Actually, from the third book onwards, we start to see the trio really falling out over a bunch of things. Hermione even snapped at Harry, which was wild. I wasn't ready for that. But they're 13 at this point and very much acting like it. J.K. Rowling's portraying that wonderfully. Hermione is in full-scale snitch mode in this book and it's nuts. She has no problem putting her friendship on the line for them to be safe. She did it in her usual annoying bossy manner, but she's right for trying to save the boys from themselves. Bless her. But she is wrong about the Crookshanks business for the most part, until right until the very end. But it was sad how she was in total disregard about the situation. But I can see why, because she just got Crookshanks at the start of the book. The conversation in the Three Broomsticks between Fudge, Hagrid, McGonagall, Flitwick and Madame Rosmerta has so much tea. I like that Ron and Hermione were both there to witness this conversation, which differs from the films. However, the films seemed more realistic as they were in a private room upstairs in the film, so naturally they opened up and talked about the Marauders, Voldemort, etc. But in the book they do it at a table in the pub, and I believe it's on the main floor with everyone else, and the pub is packed. That seemed very lax of all of them, particularly the professors and Fudge, but is whatever. We can blame it on Christmas, I guess. Maybe they were pre-gaming beforehand, who knows. The information they shared though was absolutely golden. It arrives in perfect time too, as it pretty much lands halfway through the book. Later on in the books, we learn a bit more about why Snape hates everyone. Sirius shows his dark side when he sets up Snape to be killed by Lupin during a full moon. Lupin always cut Snape slack and showed remorse and humility for what his friends did, but Sirius was really living up to the black name by setting up Snape like that. But to defend Sirius a little bit, just a little bit, you can tell that Snape was similar to Malfoy for the Marauders. He was a thorn in their side. However, this thorn, being Snape, was always darker mentally and more dangerously skilled than Malfoy ever was. We even learn in later books that Snape was deeply interested in the dark arts from a young age. I think people even predicted when he was in school that he was gonna, join the bad side per se. Anyway, James saves Snape, but it just adds to the disdain. Lupin acknowledges that he was a coward when he needed to be courageous, but I get why. He was such in a vulnerable position in regards to his friends. As I said, the trio in this book are at odds for a significant part of it, but it seems as though they can actually go against each other's interests if they think they're right. They're not in as vulnerable a position as Lupin was with his friends. He needs them so much, and when you need someone or someone's that much, you bend to their will no matter what, and it seemed that Lupin did quite a lot of that, although of course he isn't totally innocent. Snape's disdain may also be because he believes Sirius is the cause of Lily dying. Again, we learn in later books about Snape's childhood, but that's not for this video. Let me go through a quick list of other things to mention. Number 1, Cho Chang is introduced in the book. God, I had the biggest crush on her as a kid. An East Asian girl with a Scottish accent was levels of diversity I was not ready for. Number 2, Cedric is also introduced in the book, and like Cho, this is due to the fact that he's the seeker on the opposing team. And we see from the get-go that he's actually an honest, pretty cool individual. Number 3, Hermione slapping Malfoy after the Buckbeak verdict was epic. She even pulled her wand out on him. Vindictive Hermione shows up a few times in the series, and I would love to have seen what spell she had for Malfoy. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see it. Number 4, the final Quidditch game between Slytherin and Gryffindor was epic. It was so dirty. It was so dirty because there was so much on the line, and even the build up to the match was heated. They were fighting in the corridors and everything. The match got so heated that it got to the point that McGonagall wasn't even scolding Jordan Lee for his commentary, which has been a running gag so far and has been hilarious. Anyway, we finally get to see Gryffindor win the Quidditch Cup, which we're all happy about because Slytherin should have been disqualified, but whatever. Shout out to Gryffindor, always. Number 5, everything that took place in the Shrieking Shack was masterfully done. Quote, Mr. Black? Serious? Said Hermione timidly. Black jumped at being addressed like this and stared at Hermione as though being spoken to politely was something he'd long forgotten. Wow, wow, wow. Prison will do that to a person, that's for sure. Very well done though. Very, very well done. 6, Neville got bullied so badly in this book. I felt for him at times. When Sirius told everyone that Crookshanks stole Neville's paper with the passwords written on them, I felt really bad because Neville, oh god. Even McGonagall was done with him after that happened. 7, the expansion of the Wizarding world through this quote about the owls was pretty cool. Quote, the post office, Harry. About 200 owls all sitting on shelves, all color coded depending on how fast you want your letter to get there. That was pretty cool. Last thing, fuck Snape for telling people that Lupin is a werewolf. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was beside himself after Harry and Hermione had successfully freed Buckbeak and Sirius after they turned back time. Also, speaking of time, the time turner thing is a much bigger deal in the movies, but in the book, the whole thing lasts about, 10 pages, if that. It's right at the end too. Personally, I've always liked time travel, and I've never really cared for the plot holes it usually leaves behind. Again, I also love watching videos talking about the plot holes time travel tends to leave behind, but I'm weird like that. Denouement. So, for the scores, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban gets the following. Plot 95, characters 100, emotional impact 100, pacing 96, writing style 97, themes 100, uniqueness 100, book cover 85, overall score 97.55. Of course the score is that high. The Marauders and the backstory of Lupin, Sirius, James, Peter, Snape really makes this book epic. Alongside the usual stuff that we're used to by now. It's no wonder that the Marauders have their own fandom, and it's a whole different beast, because this was really great, don't get me wrong, but it was seriously, I want to say underdeveloped, but it was an opportunity missed. Like, for example, now we get in, talk about Harry Potter reboot as a TV series, which, I don't know about that yet, but really and truly, the Marauders need their own films, they need their own everything. And I don't know, I might have to do some more research, but J.K. Rowling, she should have done a series on the Marauders before we got a series about Fantastic Beasts. Anyway, what a fantastic book. More than worthy of its score of 97.55. And just like the last two books, Dumbledore and Harry have their catch up right at the end, which I'm actually growing to really love these. Dumbledore tells Harry something that ends up being vital for the later parts of the series. Quote, Pettigrew owes his life to you. You have sent Voldemort a deputy who is in your debt. Chillin'. It's these small details that stand out greatly during rereads. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Mischief managed.